Go straight into chapter 29. We're done with Sidon and Stor and Ammon and Moab and Edom, and now we get to another people that will get God's wrath. Bashana ha'asiri. So again, chapter 29. Ba'asiri. B'shnayim asar l'chodesh hayad dvar Adonai leilei mor. So it's the 10th year, the 12th day of the 10th month. So the 10th year should be the year 587, presumably, right before the destruction of the Beit HaMikdash. Okay, it's towards the end of the year, so it's late winter. Ben Adam, Simpanecha al Paro Melech Mitzrayim v'Navei Alecha ve'al Mitzrayim Kula. So now turn. You started with Edom and Ammon and Moab and Plishti, and then you turn north to Tzor and Sidon, and now turn south to all of Egypt. Daber v'amarta ko amar Adonai lumini Alecha Paro Melech Mitzrayim atanim agadol harovetz b'toki orav asher amar li yori v'ani asitan. So here we see, at least the beginning, the issue with Pharaoh is haughtiness. Pharaoh says, I am the great sea monster, whether it's supposed to be a crocodile, alligator, tanin, whether it's supposed to be some sort of snake. It's related to a sort of like this mythical idea of the Leviathan. You hear the Tanim, Leviathan, the Leviathan, this great sea monster that mythically God, battles in order to gain control of the whole world. So Paro says that he's the great Tanin, right? He's the monster sprawling over the waters. He is the one. He is the Nile, etc., etc. V'natati chachim belichayecha. What is God going to do? I'm gonna catch you like a fisherman. I'm going to put hooks in your jaw. V'dbakti dagat ye'orecha b'kashkashotecha, and I will make fish. I make the fish of your channels cling to your scales. Citing, cling to, I will haul you up from the channels, all the fish clinging to your scales, right? You think that you're the master. You think you are the one who's in control. You are a god. You are a partner to me. You are the god of the sea. You're Poseidon, I think is the correct one. If it was the Greeks who was talking to, no, I'm gonna catch you. You're going to fish, and all of the other fish from your which takes us back to all the way back to the plague of Dam as well. They will be taken out. Unitashticha midbara, and I'll fling you into the desert. I'll fling you into the desert with all of your fish, and you'll be left lying open. And you can easily be destroyed. I have given you as food to the beasts of the earth and the birds of the sky. Right, a fish can't live out of water. Pharaoh, presumably the fish, will say means by analogy means the Egyptians. You'll be taken out of your land where you have the Nile, where everything is irrigated, and you're going to end up in the desert. You do not know how to survive in the desert. You do not know how to live there, and therefore you are going to be prey for the predators in the desert. Here we see a secondary reason, maybe a more important reason. First of the issue was, like Sor, you were arrogant, but now we see something else. And that's because you inhabitants of Egypt, you were like a staff of reed to the house of Israel. What does this mean? So we saw this, that Bnei Israel wanted to make treaties with Egypt. Egypt was the major regional power that gathered together with the Edomites and the Philistines and the Jews and the Moabites to gather and fight Bavel, or before that to fight Assyria. But much like during the days of Chizkiyahu and Yeshayahu, when Rav Shakeh, a messenger and a spokesman for the king of Sancherev, was standing and screaming outside the walls of Israel and trying to get Bnei Israel to the people of Yehuda and Chizkiyahu to stand down. And he said, who are you relying on? Are you relying upon Egypt? Egypt is just a reed. They are easily snapped, and they will be snapped by my lord and king Sancherev. And that's what the king Chizkiyahu and the prophet Yeshayahu actually agreed with Rav Shakeh about. They were saying you have to follow. It's not about treaties. It's about being with God. And so they agreed with him on that one point. They didn't agree with him on the things that he blasphemed God, Rav Shakeh. And so here as well, that seems to be the issue. And we saw that in Yeshaya. We saw it in Yirmiyahu. Don't make treaties. Rely upon God over and over again is what we're told. And here that's part of the reason. You let down Israel. When Israel was attacked by Babylon, by Bavel, where were you? to defend them? Where were you to try to help your ally? B'tofsam, we're in verse 7. B'cha, b'kaf, teirot, uvakata lem kol katef, uvishana malecha tishaver, v'amarata lahem kol mot naim. When they grasped you with the hand, you would splinter and wound all their shoulders. And when they leaned on you, you would break and make all of their loins unsteady. Right? You weren't good. When Bnei Israel tried to lean on you for help, you gave them splinters, and then you broke in half. You weren't reliable. You couldn't help that. You didn't. So God says, I'm going to bring the sword against you, and we'll cut off human and animals. Right here too, one of the major words that was used over and over again in regards to Bnei Israel and the mistakes they made was the cherev, was the sword. And here we're told the sword is coming for you, Egypt. Vaita Eretz Mitzrayim, in verse 9, L'shmama v'charbu v'yadu ki ani Adonai yana amar yaorli v'ani asiti. Now here we go back to the first reason, and therefore all of Egypt is going to be desolate, it's going to be destroyed, and you will know that I am God, because you said, the Nile is mine, I made it. L'chein inni elecha vel yorech v'natati et Eretz Mitzrayim l'chorvat chorev shmama mimigdol siveinei v'ad gvul kush. And therefore I'm going to, right, Egypt is going to be destroyed. It's going to be desolate from Migdol to Sivene. I wonder if Sivene, the word savannah, is related to that word. I don't know. We'll have to ask an etymologist. All the way to the border of Cush, which is south of there. Lo ta'avor ba regel adam v'regel be'ma lo ta'avar ba v'lo teshev arba'in shana. No human foot will go through there. Nobody will traverse it, and will remain uninhabited for 40 years. 40, as we've seen many times, is a generation. 40 days, it's a specific period of time. It does not have to be literal, right? 40 days and 40 nights, over and over again. 40 years, 400 years, the Jews were told are going to be, Avram is told is going to be in a strange land, 40 times 10. So it's a full number. And so here, it's of course impossible to not to think of the 40 years that Bnei Israel stayed in the desert, as now here Egypt is going to be for 40 years. And then verse 12, Natati Teretz Mitzrayim shemama b'toch hartzot neshamot v'ara b'toch harim v'charavot tiyana shemama arba'im shana v'avotzi et Mitzrayim b'goyim v'zeritim ba'aratzot. So God says, your land is going to remain desolate, destroyed for 40 years, and I'm going to disperse the Egyptians throughout the other countries. But then after 40 years, God says, I will bring the Egyptians back, which is very strange. He doesn't say that about Edom or Ammon or Moab. They're going to be completely destroyed. But Egypt, for whatever reason, is going to come back. I will bring the Egyptians back to their land, the land of Patros, and they will be not a great kingdom anymore, a smaller kingdom, Shafel, a low kingdom, not ones of great power, which is, of course, presumably related to the idea of their arrogance. But they will come back. This is a good question here as to why they're coming back. The only thing, let's read to the end of the chapter. So there'll be a kingdom, but they're not going to be a great kingdom. They can't lord over other nations. And therefore, right, and because they're not going to be this great regional power, Bnei Israel is not going to rely upon them. It's not going to turn to them. So they won't be able to be arrogant, and because they're not so great, Bnei Israel is not going to rely upon them. You would think they wouldn't rely upon them because they're not trustworthy, but there's no reason to rely upon them if they are not somebody who can really defend you and be together with you in alliance. So now we go to the 27th year. So this is presumably the year 570, and God comes to Yechezkel. So we've skipped some years. We don't know exactly what this is. 17 years after the first Egyptian prophecy. Ben Adam, Nebuchadnezzar Melech Bavel havir et chelo avoda gdola el tzor kol rosh mikurach v'chol katef meruta v'sachar lo hayalo ulechelo mitzor ala avoda asher avad alah. So we go back to Tzor, and Yechezkel is told that Nebuchadnezzar has brought his huge army to Tyre. Right? Everybody's ready. But they weren't so successful. God said, but I'm going to give Egypt to Nebuchadnezzar, and he will carry off the wealth of Egypt and take her spoils, and right? That's how he's going to, in a sense, reward his army for their inability to be victorious over Tyre. And so I'm going to pay him for his all of his time. I'm going to give him the land of Egypt. For the second chapter, after all of these attempts and the Nebuchadnezzar, the Babylonians, we've talked the last couple of days about how for 13, I think it was 13 years, they attacked Tyre. They couldn't conquer the city. They do at one point get the king and take him off to Babel. So that it's not a complete loss, but they are not ultimately victorious. But with these destruction, what's going to happen? Just like in the last chapter, it's going to mean that it's giving an opportunity for Bnei Yisrael to go back. So Bnei Yisrael is going to be able to go back. And here, with that, they will know that I am God. And it's we've talked about it a lot over the last number of chapters, but this idea of Yediat Hashem, of knowing God, is one of the themes of Yetziat Mitzrayim back in the book of Shmot. Right? Paro says to Moshe, when Moshe first appears, who is this God that you speak of? I don't know of any God of that, like that. And right, we're going to have the plagues, and we're going to teach all of Egypt, Paro, and all the other oppressors of Bnei Israel, that there is a God who's really in control and they're not in control. And so finally here, after all of these chapters, we sort of have all things coming together, where the Egyptians will know once again that there's God, because they will once again be destroyed, decimated. But that is going to also therefore allow Bnei Yisrael to return. So Bnei Yisrael's knowledge of God will not only be through their destruction, but will also be through their victorious and beautiful return to Israel.